Hi kids, welcome to Kids Church. I'm Miss Melissa and I'm so glad you're here today. If you were with me in Kids Church last week, you know we ended on a real cliffhanger. Esther had been taken from her home to the palace where King Xerxes had chosen her to be the new queen. Her cousin Mordecai had become a guard at the king's gate and had overheard and foiled a plot to kill the king. Evil Haman had wanted to kill Mordecai because Mordecai wouldn't bow down to him when he walked by. But he didn't only want to kill Mordecai, he found out that Mordecai was a Jew, and he decided he wanted to kill all the Jews in the land. He even got permission from the king that on a certain day, anyone could kill the Jews and take all of their things. Well, Mordecai had sent a message to Queen Esther asking her to go to the king and beg for mercy for the lives of her people. That was really dangerous for her for a couple of reasons. One, because no one knew she was a Jew. And two, because anyone who entered the throne room of the king without being invited would be killed, unless the king raised his scepter to that person. Esther knew it was very dangerous, and I'm sure she was pretty scared. She asked Mordecai to gather all the Jews and pray for her for 3 days, and then she would go to the king. She was afraid, but she knew God was with her. That's where we ended our story. What do you think's going to happen? Will Esther go to the king? Will she be okay? Will Haman kill all the Jews? What will happen to Mordecai? We'll find out the rest of the story in another episode of Toilet Paper Roll Theater. This is our very last week to practice Isaiah 41:10 together. Next week, we're learning a new verse. So, let's say our verse with some friends today.
Isaiah 41:10. Don't be afraid, because I am with you. Don't be discouraged, because I am your God. I will strengthen you and help you and hold you up with my victorious right hand.
Isaiah 41:10. Do not be afraid, for I am with you.
Don't be
Discouraged. I am your God. I will strengthen you and help you. I will hold you up with my victorious right hand. Isaiah 41:10. Don't be afraid, for I am with you. Don't be discouraged, for I am your God. I will strengthen you and help you. I will hold you up with my victorious right hand.
Great job, everyone. As Esther stood in the outer courts, she must have been trembling on the inside. King Xerxes was in his throne room. Then she looked up at the king and saw a smile on his face and him holding out his scepter for her to touch. This was what a king did to show a person it was okay to come into the room where he was. Queen Esther was trusting God to show her what to do. So when the king asked her what she wanted, she invited him and Haman to a banquet. After the first banquet, she invited the king and Haman to attend another banquet the next night. Haman was so proud of himself that he had been the only one invited to attend the king and queen's banquet that he left the banquet very happy. As he walked by Mordecai on his way home, he was furious that Mordecai would not kneel and honor him. When he arrived home, he boasted to his family about the events of the day and about his invitation to eat at the banquet with the king and queen. He also told his family about how much he despised Mordecai. Haman's wife and friends told him that he should build a gallows so Mordecai could be hung on it. Haman loved this idea, and he had the gallows built. Meanwhile, the night before Esther's banquet, the king could not sleep. Since King Xerxes was unable to sleep, he asked his servant to bring a history book and read to him. It wasn't an accident which history book was brought for him to read. As the servant read the book to the king, they read about the account of Mordecai overhearing the plot to have King Xerxes killed. King Xerxes realized that Mordecai had not been honored and rewarded for saving his life. He decided to come up with a plan to reward Mordecai. In the morning, Haman comes to the palace to request that he might be allowed to hang Mordecai on the gallows that he had built. As Haman enters the king's presence, the king asks him, what should be done for the man who the king wants to honor? Pride is an ugly thing. Haman was blinded by pride. He assumed the king wanted to honor him, so he came up with the best way that he would want to be honored. He tells the king, that person should be given a royal robe and one of the king's horses. They should be led through the streets while one of the most important guys in the lands announces to everyone that this person is honored by the king. That's a great idea, said the king. Go and do those things for Mordecai. Imagine how angry Haman was to have to lead Mordecai through the streets of the city, telling everyone that Mordecai was honored by the king. Later that day, it was now time for Esther's banquet. Esther knew it was time to tell the king that she and her people were going to be killed. She told the king that she was a Jew, and there was a law that her people were going to be killed. The king was furious. Who would dare to think about killing you? The king loved his wife, and the thought of her being killed made him angry. Esther pointed at Haman and said, the enemy who wants to destroy the Jews is this wicked Haman. King Xerxes had Haman put to death on the same gallows that he had built for Mordecai as a punishment for his wicked plan. God had used Mordecai and Esther to save his people from destruction. Esther went to Xerxes and pleaded with him to write a new law that would save her people. He agreed and made a new law that said that on the day the Jews were to be attacked, they could protect themselves from those who wanted to hurt them. The Jews' lives were saved because Esther was faithful and obeyed in the circumstances she was in. Many people's lives were affected because of her good influence. We have been placed on this earth at this time in history for God's plans and God's purposes. He knows all that is going on around us, and He can use us to be a godly influence in the lives of others around us if we choose to follow and obey Him like Esther did.
We've been practicing our books of the New Testament. We've learned a lot of them so far. Today, I'm going to show you a fun way to practice them. You can even do this yourself at home. Grab a balloon or even a ball and see if you can keep it up in the air while you say or sing the books of the New Testament. Okay? How about we watch our friends give this a try?
Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, Acts, and the letter to the Romans, 1st and 2nd Corinthians, Galatians and Ephesians, Philippians, Colossians, 1st and 2nd Thessalonians.
Hey kids, it's our last week of this series, and we've got one more story to tell. This one's a royal story. Are you ready to hear it? Great! Here's how it goes. There once was a woman named Esther, who was the queen of Persia. Now Esther wasn't born as royalty. When she was a young girl, she was kidnapped by a king and taken to his palace with hundreds of other women. The king lined up all of the women and decided Esther was his favorite. The king didn't follow God, but Esther did, and the king didn't know it. Esther was Jewish, which means she was one of God's chosen people. Soon after Esther became queen, a man named Haman devised a scheme to kill all of the Jewish people. Esther's life was in danger, and so were the lives of everyone she loved. But instead of running away or hiding, Esther decided she could do something to help her people. She went to the king and asked that her life and the lives of her people be spared. Esther chose to speak up for what she believed was right, even though it might make the king angry. The king was shocked by this news and asked who would try to hurt his queen. When Esther revealed Haman's plot to the king sent Haman away and sent out a decree that the Jewish people should be protected no matter where they lived. Esther was able to stop Haman's plan and save her people. Esther probably never dreamed she would be a hero. She was just an ordinary girl who God chose to save her people. No matter what Esther thought her life might look like, God had a plan for how he was going to use her. And just like Esther, God has a plan for your life too.
What do you want to be when you grow up? One of my favorite verses is Ephesians 2:10, and it says, "For we are God's masterpiece. He has created us anew in Christ Jesus so we can do the good things he planned for us long ago." This verse is telling us that God created us to do good things because it's part of his plan for us. Our lives matter to God. The work God planned for us to do is already prepared for us. Like Esther, we're called to do the work that God has planned for us to do. When we look at our lives, sometimes we see that we're just really little, or maybe we remember the mistakes that we've made. Maybe we feel like we don't know why things are happening to us, like maybe some bad things that we don't know, why is this happening? Look at the back of this tapestry. It's a mess, isn't it? Strings are everywhere, threads are hanging out. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't really look very pretty, does it? That's sometimes how we look at our own lives. Maybe we don't understand what the purpose is for the things happening in our lives. But God sees the front. Look at the front of this tapestry. Doesn't it look different? This is how God sees our lives. He tells us that he can use all things for his purpose and his glory. He sees the front. And he makes our lives a beautiful tapestry, a perfect picture that shows his plans.
Hi there, little chicken nuggets. It's me, Carl. Welcome to Grow TV.
Welcome to Grow TV. Introducing your host, Carl. And your co-host, Cassie. Where we learn, where we grow, and we talk about Jesus. Once again, welcome to Grow TV.
Hey there, everybody. So glad you can come hang out with your old buddy Carl today. And I'm not gonna lie, I'm in a good mood today. And nothing is gonna ruin it. I'm on cloud nine, on top of the world. I couldn't be happier. Too blessed to be stressed. Know what I'm saying?
Hey, Carl.
Hey, Cassie. How are you on this glorious day?
I don't know.
What? How do you not know?
I just don't know.
Well, what's got you down?
I just feel tired.
Well, that's not good. We gotta cheer you up.
I just don't know if that's possible.
Well, sure it is. My motto in life is, you can always cheer someone up if you try hard enough.
Is that really your motto?
Nope, but it is now.
All right, so what do you want to do?
How about this? We play a game called Toe or Finger.
What? How do you play that?
Easy. You just close your eyes and I put either a toe or finger under your nose and you have to guess which one it is.
That sounds awful.
Okay, how about we play Does That Dog Bite? We go up to random dogs and pet them and see if they're gonna bite us or not.
That's a terrible idea. We could get hurt.
That's true. Probably shouldn't do that. So what games are we gonna play?
How about some true or false?
True or false? Like I ask a question and you guess whether it's true or false?
Sure.
Awesome! True or false? First one. Some cats are allergic to humans.
False.
True! Gotcha! True or false? A group of dolphins is called a pod.
True.
False! Wait, no, you're right. It's true.
Told ya.
Yeah. Alrighty, Miss Smarty Pants. See if you can get this one. True or false? Fish live in water.
Really? That's the question?
What, too difficult? I told you I was a master of true and false.
True. Obviously, fish live in water.
Wait, how'd you know that?
Everyone knows that. Are you serious?
Alright, last one. True or false? God has a plan for everyone.
I don't know.
You don't know?
I'm gonna go with false? Maybe true? I don't know.
What are you talking about? Of course God has a plan for everyone. What are you even saying?
I don't know. I guess God does have a plan for everyone, but sometimes I feel like he doesn't have one for me.
What do you mean?
Well, like today I'm tired. I don't feel like doing anything, and I don't feel like God has a plan for me today.
Well, just because we're tired doesn't mean anything.
What about the mistakes I've made? I've messed up a lot in my life, and I just don't see how God can have a plan for somebody who messes up so much.
Easy there, Down Cassie. Miss, I didn't get enough sleep last night. God has a plan for you. The Bible is full of stories of people that have messed up, but still did amazing things.
Like who?
Well, look at Moses. He did a lot of things that were wrong, but God still used him to save countless lives. And what about Peter? He doubted Jesus, denied Jesus, and was pretty selfish at times. Yet, he became one of the greatest leaders in the Bible.
I guess that's true.
And don't forget about who we learned about last week.
You mean Esther?
Of course. I mean, look at her whole story. As a Jewish woman, she was never supposed to become a queen, but she did. And she was never supposed to talk to the king without being summoned, but she did. And because of her faithfulness, God used her to save her family and her friends. Without her, so many people would have died. And you don't think God didn't have a plan for her?
I guess you're right, but what about me?
That's the cool thing, Cassie. God loves us all the same. There's nothing that you can do to make God love you any more or any less.
Really?
Really, really.
That makes me feel good.
Me too. And we can't forget how much God loves us and how important God's plan is for us. And Cassie, you're a once-in-a-whole-universe type of person. And there's something about you that is the direct reflection of God's love.
Thanks, Carl. I'm not sure why I even doubted God. I know now that God has a purpose for my life and a plan for my life.
Oh, Cassie.
What? What's wrong?
I'm just so proud of you.
What? Why?
Not only do you know that God has a plan for your life, but you just said our big idea.
I did?
Yeah, you did. That's our big idea.
Well, apparently today's big idea is God has a plan for my life.
Yep, we must never forget that. So on the count of 3, let's all say it together. 1,
2,
3. God has a plan for my life! All right! Woo, woo, woo! So Cassie, how do you feel now?
still tired, but happy. Happy that God cares about me.
Isn't that the truth? Speaking of truth, true or false? I need a snack right now.
True?
Yeah, that's true. See you, everyone.
Thank you for watching, and tune in next week for a new episode of Pro TV.
Thanks for being with me today, friends. Hey, I have a question for you. If you had one wish, like one thing you could ask for, anything at all, what would it be? What would you ask for? Send me a video message and let me know, and I may use it in our video next week. I'll see you then. Bye, everyone.